All right. Hello, everyone. We are so happy to have you here with us this evening for tonight's presentation about dyslexia. I think you are going to certainly take away more information than you thought you could by the end. My name is Reagan Copeland, and I am with Duval Schools, proud to be part of the enrollment team where we're always working to get our students back into the schools that best serve them. And tonight we will be highlighting our GRASP Academy. If you aren't already following Family Engagement on social media where they're announcing all of these types of courses, I strongly encourage you to do that. Family Engagement through Duval Schools aspires to keep all parents engaged and up to date on the latest and greatest information about our school programming, academics, and services throughout our district. Joining us tonight is Principal Powell, who leads our GRASP Academy, and she will be taking the time to share all of our wealth of knowledge on the subject. We are recording this presentation. We're doing so to make sure that we get the information to those families who couldn't join us tonight but had intended to. And as we know, life of a parent is unpredictable and you never know what's coming at you next. So we had lots of people register tonight, and if they're unable to join us, no problem. We will have this course available on the course recordings page under Family Engagement on the website. All right, I will hand over the mic, the camera, and all the information to Principal Powell. Take it away.
Thank you, Reagan. Hi, good afternoon or good evening. Oh my goodness, good evening. Thank you for joining us this evening. My name's Vanessa Powell, and I am very, very excited and honored to be the principal of GRASP Academy. And GRASP Academy is the only public school that really that caters to or is designed to meet the needs of students with dyslexia and some other neurodiversities. This subject is not only something I get to do as a position or get paid to do, but it's also incredibly dear to my heart. As a dyslexic, as a parent of a dyslexic, it's not only a professional challenge or a professional desire of mine, but it's a very personal thing to me. So Miss Cruz is on tonight, and she is our parent and family involvement coordinator, and she'll be monitoring our chat because as a dyslexic with ADHD, I'll forget. So you'll get to hear a little bit about GRASP, a little bit about dyslexia, and we'll just enjoy our hour together. If you have any questions, we'll try to answer them for you. So I'm going to share my screen. And is my screen being shared? Tracy?
It's perfect.
Just a little bit of introduction. I've been doing this for about 25 years. I started with GRASP when they opened the door 11 years ago. Was not identified as a dyslexic until I was an adult, but which really did help me understand not only my learning needs, desires, and some of my comorbidities, but also of my daughters. And so you'll probably hear a whole bunch of stories about my family. You'll be like, lady, I don't want to hear that. So we'll start with the definition as it relates to dyslexia. So dyslexia is a specific learning disability that is neurobiological in origin. And I always underline that because I need people to understand that this is just who we are. This is our brain. It's not, we didn't catch it. It is neurobiological. It runs in families. It's hereditary. But it's basically characterized with difficulties in decoding, spelling, phonics, fluency. But part of that, if you struggle with decoding, you also struggle with, or you could struggle with reading comprehension because you're taking a lot of time to decode words and sometimes going back and having difficulty with learning vocabulary and difficulty with reading comprehension. The part that really impacts schools is under IDA and under ADA. And so IDA is that if you're in the schools, you'll hear people talk about like having an IEP or learning disability. And so that is considered a specific learning disability. Dyslexia falls under that, um, with just under just that part. There, the school district does not evaluate for dyslexia, but there are some going through the RTI process, looking at some interventions, ways for you to qualify. Any reading disability or any reading deficits can also qualify under what they call a 504 under the Americans with Disabilities Act. Why does all this matter? Why does this matter? For me, it's being able to support our children and support their learning. Understanding dyslexia as a parent really helped me as my child got older to help me guide her on her journey, um, and to dispel some of those myths and stigma that goes with it, so that we all understand that students with any neurodiversity, dyslexia included, have lots of things going on. So, empowerment and advocacy, the more we know about it, the more we can advocate. I do a lot of advocating within our community, do a lot of advocating within our school district. But the more you as a parent or a guardian, or can advocate for what your student needs to be successful. And then that fostering inclusion and self-esteem. Just the students we serve, the students I serve do come to us with a lot of self-esteem issues. One, because they know we have average to above average IQs. I'm very aware that I might not be reading at the same level that the person sitting next to me is, and I'm self-aware enough to know that, or to make myself feel bad about that. So we want to and foster inclusion. And so at GRASP, everything is done in the classroom. So students receive any services they need, any interventions they need, any accommodations they need in the classroom with everybody else. It doesn't matter what your label is. It's what you need as an individual learner. So statistics, so they say that like 15% to 20% of our population is dyslexic. So 1 in 5 is what they used to say, and now they're saying it's probably more prevalent. Some of that is just what we talked about is awareness. But being diagnosed with dyslexia, having a formal diagnosis is incredibly expensive. And so some insurance companies pay for it, some do not. So that leaves about only 2 million identified, like formally diagnosed or identified. Duval County was very aware of this. And so you do not have to be formally identified to attend GRASP Academy. And so they could make it available to our community as a whole. It is the most common learning disability. Dyslexia accounts for about 80% of all of the students with the learning disability in our schools. Myths and facts. So a lot of people will think that it's letter reversals. Some letter reversals are just part of development. It's just part of how we're learning. Letter reversals become problemsome or become a concern when you're looking at the end of second grade, beginning of third grade. They're usually G's, P's, D's. So we're not just looking, oh, my students in kindergarten and they're reversing their letters, so therefore they must be. Some of that's just developmental. Dyslexia is a lifelong condition. Um, if my staff gets to hear me say all the time, I do not need to be fixed. I have dyslexia. I am not broken. But I do realize and I do know that I have to manage and have strategies. So an example would be, as a dyslexic, I'll pre-read things. I bet you I read this PowerPoint 10, 15 times just to make sure that I understood, even though I wrote it. It's just those are the strategies I need. I do a lot of pre-reading, so that if I go to a meeting, um, I'll know, and I know, okay, they're going to go over this report. I'll make sure to pre-read that report. I didn't learn that. It cost me a lot of money in college before I learned that one. And then I use a lot of audiobooks. So my when I first started working as a principal in Duval County, my peers were like, "You do what?" But now they understand. So if the point of reading is comprehension, that's the point of reading. If the purpose is comprehension, and I listen to an audiobook and you read print, but we have the exact same information and can have this exact same conversations, then we've both achieved that goal. And so I use those are things that I had to learn, and those strategies to help me manage. I guess I hate the word manage actually, just to help me with accommodations, I guess. Um, Effort versus laziness. A lot of times we'll hear very well meaning teachers or adults that'll say, well, he's not working up to his potential. He's just lazy. He could do better if he only tried. Well, that doesn't mean I'm lazy. Um, but sometimes it's just frustrating. And that frustration level, it's better to shut down than to become frustrated and um, throw a chair, I guess, for lack of a. So lots of strengths to being a dyslexic. Creative problem solving, thinking outside the box. So I joke around a lot about how one day we got a phone call and said, "Hey, you're going to come to this meeting and you're going to start this school. Here's a school. Here's a concept that we have." And the concept is to build a school that works that addresses the needs of students with dyslexia. And that's all we're going to really tell you, because there's no other school that does it. Oh, and by the way, you're going to do it in a public school. So there's really no other school that does it. Um, but part of that dyslexic strength is that being able to see those big pictures and and create systems within it. Emotional intelligence is big. How to read a room. So dyslexics are pretty good at reading rooms. And that's why this conversation is sometimes difficult, because I just see little circles. And I would love to one day possibly be, I'd like to present face to face so that we can have some interaction. But I'm very excited that I get to do this. But intuitive, able to read rooms. Um, you'll notice that those social interactions, salesmen, CEOs of corporations, because they're able to do those things. Verbal skills. So we have average to high IQs, which I told you, but we have incredibly great verbal skills. May struggle to get it down on paper, but I can use text to speech to text, and talk away and able to get my point across. But looking at telling stories, amazing storytellers, amazing episodic memory. So the so we'll screen students and we'll ask them a question about, hey, could you tell us about a trip? And they're able to tell us, how far they drove, what color shirt everybody was wearing, what they did, how. It's just amazing. And it's that episodic memory, those that they're able, and then they tell amazing stories. It's just getting them down on paper. It does not limit our potential. Many successful people thrive. Um, so we have, celebrities, and the hard part is, I guess, getting past those stereotypes. Um, and so it's important to really look at those dyslexic role models. Getting past those, if you can't read, I think one of the most hurtful things um, that I ever heard one time as an adult was a speaker got up and was trying to encourage me to go into leadership and said, if you're not a good reader, you're not going to be a good leader. And I remember having that self esteem, the wind taken, my breath taken away, and your self esteem just plummets. So you have to, every time that happens, I think of it like a pendulum. So I'm okay. You're okay for a while and life goes on and you realize I can do this and these things in spite of, so I have dyslexia, I can do it. But then when people, well-meaning people make those kind of statements, you go right back to that I'm not good enough self-esteem issue. Um, so that still haunts me. And I think it was like 10 years ago. But because I have great episodic memory and probably tell you what the lady was wearing. But it took me some time and some conversations with some other leaders to remind me that it really, I have things anyway. It can be. I just love these pictures. So dyslexic. Keanu Reeves, Travis Kelsey did not know he was dyslexic, but I'm so sorry. Tracy, you're muted? I don't think I can unmute you. Um, I think everybody's muted. But anyway, didn't know Travis Kelsey was dyslexic until 2 days ago when my Swifty daughters let me know. They were very excited about that because one of them is dyslexic. Um, Spider-Man, dyslexic. And then Walt Disney, threw that in there because we're in Florida. So again, and actually, Tom Holland talks a lot about his dyslexia and some of the things he had to overcome as far as the self-esteem things and how he works with Tom Cruise. Those are all, um, people that in this field we talk a lot about. So in schools, there might be, they're going to have difficulty. Our students will have difficulty with reading, fluency, decoding, spelling, um, avoidance of reading aloud, um, with reading assignments. So that student in class who all of a sudden has to go to the bathroom or has a stomach ache every time we're going to start reading a book, or go to an ELA class, um, or has a behavior or becomes upset, anxiety, all of that, trouble following multi-step instructions, because it is a it's a language-based disability. So anytime we're having to use language, so multi-step instructions, go upstairs, get your shoes, put your shoes on, grab your backpack, grab an umbrella because I think it's going to rain, meet me in the car. And so you may get shoes on, or you may get an umbrella in the car but no shoes. And it's the multi-step instructions. But you can work on those things, and those are skills you can build. But it is a characteristic. Sometimes becomes difficult in the classroom because often teachers give multiple instructions all at one time. All right, we're going to go to recess now. So everybody line up, or everybody stand up, push in your chairs. We're going to line up. You're going to line up in 1, 2, 3 order. Everybody remember your numbers. Oh, yeah, by the way, when we come back, we're going to get our backpacks. We're going to put our backpacks in the hall. Ready, everybody outside for recess. What? What just happened? And so, that often becomes a problem. Um, Signs of frustrations, low self-esteem, um, anxiety, comorbidities are things that kind of go with or are often seen in a dyslexic population. Anxiety, depression, ADHD, those are often what we call comorbidities. So There's not usually just one thing that's going on at the time. Oh, well, if I work on his phonics or phonemic awareness, then everything's going to be fine. We won't be anxious anymore. Some of that anxiety is I know I have to go to an ELA class that I'm not going to be successful in. I have to go at 9 o'clock. So at 8:45, that anxiety just starts to bump up. We see it at the beginning of the year with kids that won't get out of cars, that when their parent pulls in the car rider line and the student's like, no way, not going. So stomach aches. I'm not getting up, I'm sick, my stomach hurts, I can't go to class. Probably about this time, we don't see that as much. Um, Not that we have a miracle cure, it's just our systems are designed to kind of ease that anxiety. So you'll see. So I love the oral expression one because we're talkers. We verbally express. Man, we love to discuss things. And so sometimes we get in trouble in class because we're talking too much. Um, and so you'll see those kinds of things. So with average to above average IQs, you can have a like dual diagnosis or dual eligibility. So gifted and with a specific learning disability such as dyslexia, we have several students that fit in that category. And so those students, we have to remember that they have another unique set of needs. And so they receive gifted services. They are identified as gifted as well as. So that emotional well-being is just to us is just as important as the academic piece. And so setting our students up for success within the classroom, um, we only have so much cognitive energy. Anybody does, let alone the students we serve. So you only have so much cognitive energy. And so the things that we can make systematic, the things that we can help them not have to think about so much, helps them be successful. We work really hard on moving from deficits to potential. It's very important that our students and their families see that having any type of label, any type of diagnosis, there you can see it in two ways. You can see it as a deficit or you can see it as potential and really work hard on letting our kids see their potential. So currently we have a student that is attending University of North Florida. She is in the engineering program there, and she came to us in second grade without didn't know her letters, didn't know her letter sounds. Her parent was told that she would never learn those things and that she needed to think of an alternative program for her. She's doing great. Again, thinking of her potential, we have a young man currently playing football for LSU who came to us in second and third. I think he came to us in third grade. Again, no letter identification, no sounds, and now is in a D1 college doing just fine. Now, do they meet every milestone at the time that the state or some random person says they need to? Probably not. But do they get there? Absolutely. And who do they want to be? So looking at what we can do in the classroom. So now we know. Now we think, okay, so this student or my student may have or has some of these characteristics, and what can I do in the classroom or what can be done in the classroom? It's very important. So we use what we call an Orton-Gillingham methodology. Orton-Gillingham is kind of like that gold standard when you're working with a population, a dyslexic population. So that multi-sensory instruction, let's put things in our hands. Let's listen. So that's why I use audiobooks. Let's build things out. If we're talking middle school math and we're talking scale, then what can we build? If you're doing science, then and you're talking about motion, what can we design? What can we build? So lots of movement. We draw a big number line out in the hallway. And so when we talk about place value, we want students to actually physically move their bodies to represent that and to get those concepts. We provide extra time. What a great state we live in. So the PM ones are the best tests, the Florida state tests that we have to take 3 times a year now. Um, it used the old test you had so many times, so you had 80 minutes, let's say, and so we always had to give our kids extra time. Now it is a whole day. You have all day to take this test, which, just think about the stress that just takes off a student. I'm not timed. The time is not, now I'm not worried about the click 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 of the clock, but we have the whole time. So they have that, which is kind of nice, and it's already built in to the assessment, so we don't have to ask for it. Our students just have it. Breaks into managing. So doing some breaks and making those tasks manageable. Again, multi-step instructions. So can we break that down a little bit? Can we break a large project into smaller pieces using a rubric? Or, okay, by Friday, this is due, this part of this project is due. I know this isn't about ADHD, but one of the characteristics of ADHD is time means nothing. Um, you said to do the project. I will do the project. So just remembering that our students sometimes need those quick little deadlines. Assisted technology, love assisted technology. What a great time in history to be dyslexic. Um, Speech to text. I can I could get my thoughts down and then edit them. Text to speech, or speech to text, text to speech. Um, I can listen to things. I can gather information, and so a big one when my daughter was growing up was Harry Potter. That was just a big book back then. But the decoding piece for her, what she wasn't making it through that book and or through that series, and she knew that, and it was very frustrating to her. And so back then you would read it to her. Well, I didn't read it to her. My husband read it to her. But now our students can use Learning Ally, free from the state, or Bookshare, or Hoopla, or Libby, which are the public library, and their student IDs is their library card. So let's say at our school, our sixth graders read Percy Jackson. We read Percy Jackson because he's dyslexic, and it kind of builds that, going back to the potential piece of that. So we're reading Percy Jackson. So our students can get on Learning Ally and they can listen to the story and have discussions with their peers. Again, the purpose of reading is comprehension. And so we really promote that. Everyone at Grasp is signed up for Learning Ally, but anybody in Jacksonville can go and sign up for Libby or Hoopla, and it's just their library card, or their student ID is their library card. Um, Talking about celebrating wins, the celebrating little wins. So kind of like you against you. It's me against me. I'm not going to compete against someone who, maybe their neurodiversity just is different, but I'm not going to compete against them. I'm compete against me. If I get better each and every day, that's what we're going to celebrate. And that's really important to us, so that students start to realize that at the end of the day, they just have to compete against themselves. One day they will get out of school, and they'll be good. So, how can you guys help? Advocating is really important. So, we have a couple organizations in Jacksonville. UF Health works primarily card with students with autism, and they do have a couple of programs on dyslexia. Hope Haven helps. They have some advocacy pieces there, but just staying informed and advocating for programs. Duval County will occasionally ask for input when they adopt new curriculum. So looking at that curriculum and seeing, okay, is it a phonics based curriculum? Currently, we just UFly in grades 1 and or K1 and 2, and that is an Orton Gillingham phonics based program. But and then early observations and communications are important. You guys know your students better than we do. Not many educators will admit that, but I'll admit it. These are your students, these are your children. So if you have concerns, then let us help you. We cannot get you a formal diagnosis, but we can maybe look at speech patterns or do what they call multi-tiered systems of support and put other supports in place, and then make connections within the community. I'm going to keep saying celebrate strengths, celebrate strengths, celebrate strengths. Um, School often becomes just one more test that I didn't do well on, one more reading assignment that it took me longer. Now somebody pulls me out to help me read it. So I miss what's happening in my classroom. We had cupcakes today, but I was pulled out. So becomes that. But if we can change that narrative to where we're celebrating, hey, you know what? Yesterday it took you 2 hours to read this, and look how much faster we're doing it. Or hey, now you know all of your short vowel sounds. That's amazing. Just those little brief, just quick wins, so that you're receiving that positive praise around learning. Learning's hard. There's specialized programs that we have, and then audiobooks, podcasts, and build vocabulary. Great thing about audiobooks, talk about building vocabulary. If I'm only if I'm only reading books that somebody says are within my reading level, then I'm never getting exposed to the vocabulary that my peers are getting exposed to. An IQ test. So IQ tests are big on vocabulary. A huge portion of an IQ test is vocabulary. And so having conversations, talking about literature, audiobooks have have just really opened the door for me. I have two grown children now, but it allowed us to share in literature where before the conversations were, hey, did you do your laundry? How's it going? What you doing? How's your cat? Now I can listen to books that my eldest daughter, who is an avid reader, she might be reading, and we can have those conversations because my family's very aware that it would probably take me twice as long to read that book as it would my eldest daughter. But when we connect with literature, the purpose of reading is comprehension. We can have those conversations, and it really has broadened those conversations. Distraction-free homework spaces. So there's a lot of research lately on minimalism and ADHD. So creating this is your space. So what do you do here? This is what I do here. Um, and so what do you do when you go to this class? It's math. So I'm going to do math. What do you do when you go to the table or wherever you choose? this is where I do my homework, or this is, and so again, cognitive load. There's no cognitive load. You go to that classroom, you're going to do your math. You don't have to think about it. Encourage strengths, art, music. Wow. Art, music, sports, storytelling. There's a lot of authors that have come out lately that are dyslexic. And because they're able to use that technology, that text to speech, and get their thoughts out and then edit it. So the sky's the limit. I guess it's not limiting them and looking at the potential that every person has. We celebrate um, we celebrate victories, not perfection. So at Grasp, we don't really celebrate necessarily achievement scores. Like if you were a 3, a 4, and a 5, come have pizza. It's more if you went up a point or if you made gains, then now we're going to celebrate that. So we're going to celebrate those victories, no matter how small or how insignificant some people see them. Every victory or every growth is celebrated. Man, I talked fast. It's because I need this people interaction. So looking at our final thoughts, so that unique impact of dyslexia. Dyslexia is on a spectrum. Some people, um, some people will struggle with short vowel sounds and the phonemic part. Some people will struggle with word recall. That's a big one. So the word recall. So dyslexics will often say, yeah, remember that, you remember that. So it's that word recall because it's a language based. And then the more nervous we get and the more higher our anxiety level, the worse the recall is. So just remembering that as we're working with our students. So it's really a spectrum and how it works personally. And I don't mind sharing my story if it helps. And this isn't about me, but short E, I'm done. I don't know what it is about short E. I finally just said short E is my enemy. Um, if I misspell a word, I guarantee it's because it has a short E in it. But it's just knowing that and then thinking, okay, well, let's be cognitive or cognizant of that. Again, empowering in our community. As far as I think there was a community event at the library last weekend where they showed a movie. Usually October is Dyslexia Awareness Month. And so our community will usually show a video or have some information about dyslexia. And getting involved in those kind of opportunities. And again, the big one is just shifting that narrative, making sure that our students feel or that okay, this is it. Okay, so we have dyslexia. What are we gonna do? Okay, we have ADHD. What are we gonna do? Okay, there's some kind of neurodiversity going on now. All right, let's move forward. And what does that look like? Look at the potential that you have. If I guarantee if I was not an ADHD dyslexic, my job would be almost impossible. So shifting that to where I used to feel bad about it and think, oh my gosh, I'm never going to make it. I'm not a good reader, so I can't be a good leader. To wow, because I'm this way, I'm able to do these things. And so it really is that shifting that letting everybody, letting your student know how important they are and the positives that go with that. So here's Grasp Academy. So we are located in Arlington. And if you have any other questions, I'm not sure if you have any other questions or just want to talk. about dyslexia or how we can help you, please feel free to contact us. Miss Cruz